Hello, I'm going to be doing a video biography on Jewel Kilcher. She was born on May 23, 1974 in Payson, Utah, and she spent most of her childhood days growing up in Anchorage, Alaska. Both of her parents were very artistic and musical, and they supported her throughout her life and her career as a musician. Her father was Atz Kilcher, a musician, and her mother was Nedra Carroll, a social worker, artist, and musician. They grew up in a relatively poor environment. Her parents weren't too successful. When she was 8 years old, her parents divorced, and she moved in with her dad to an 800-acre homestead. They weren't very wealthy at all, and they didn't have any heat in the homestead except for a coal stove, and they had no running water. Jewel ended up moving around a lot in her youth, going from living with her mom, dad, and relatives in many different places. For her last 2 years of high school, though, she settled down in Michigan and went to Interlochen Arts Academy. This definitely gave her a head start in her career as a musician. After graduating high school, she went to go move with her mom. She moved in with her mom, and they both struggled to make a living. They lived in vans, had almost no money, and worked as waitresses. One time, Jewel contracted a kidney infection, and they didn't even have enough money to pay for medicine. These were very negative experiences in her life. She had lots of struggles in her childhood and growing up, but they helped shape her as a person. Lots of her poems are about pain, suffering, and heartbreak, and her rough childhood and teen years definitely are reflected in these. Her life took a turn when she issued her debut album, Pieces of You. After a year of it being released, it sold 10 million copies. She told about her experience when she heard that she sold 8,000 copies in the first week. Jewel said, "I remember crying on my kitchen floor, thanking God that I might never have to waitress or live in my car again." We can really see how Jewel is a human just as much as the rest of us. It kind of gives us an inner look in how celebrities get their inspiration from somewhere they're not perfect and their lives aren't amazing. Her poetry often has themes about life and change and growing up, and we can see that she definitely went from a young girl to a successful artist that based her songs and poetry on her experiences. Her artsy and humble upbringing definitely stayed with her after becoming more popular and famous. After her first album was released, she was nominated for 2 Grammys and even won an American Music Award for Best Artist. After that, HarperCollins signed her to a $2 million book deal. It was a New York Times bestseller. The book she wrote was A Night Without Armor, her poetry book. It sold 350,000 copies. After becoming successful, another theme of growth appeared in her writing. I mentioned this before, but it's very important to her, and it is very prominent in her poetry. She tells of people changing and realizing that they have to grow up and their experiences. An example of this is Goodbye Alice in Wonderland, a poem that I read and annotated. Actually, it's a song that she wrote. It's about somebody who is famous, but they got caught up in everything that fame is, which is lies and gossip and negative things, and how they realize that life is so much more than that. It doesn't exactly reflect the experiences that we talked about, but it's definitely about growth and change which she experienced. When we look at Jewel Kilcher, we can see someone who was once a young, poor girl with big dreams that struggled at first, but eventually made it to the top and had a career as a musician. She's really amazing, and I personally really like that she sings and does poems and writes poems, and she's just an amazing person overall. She's really talented, and her life definitely is an inspiration to many people who want to be an artist or a musician or a poet in their lives, because we know it's not easy, but we eventually have to get there. Thank you.